insane. Okay, so when we're ready, we'll start standing, and a bunch of the stuff up here we'll do standing anyway, but we'll just warm up. Feet not too far apart. Just a finger or two distance between the feet. And then become aware of the weight through the soles of the feet. And see if we can get that weight even, front and back, inside, outside, left and right. And as you work with that weight, we can experience too the way the leg muscles engage for us to accomplish that. And then bring the attention through the legs, up into the hips, and create a little drooping down at the tailbone. So it's not a full tuck, right? But it's a little bit of downward sensation. And then we'll come into the front of the hips. We'll use our fingers here. And then just rub the fingers, stroke the fingers up the abdominal wall. And just have the abdominal wall energize. You'll feel it engage and kind of move away from the fingers very lightly. And as we work with the abdominal wall, stay in touch with the tailbone, with it sinking downward a bit. And then bring the attention, we'll still just stroke the abdominal wall, but think about the ribs coming up, kind of lifting away from the hips a bit. Okay, and we're going to work with the fingers again, but we'll work with them with our breathing. We'll start low, below the navel. Inhale, run the fingertips right up the center. And we'll get the arms up around the shoulders, collarbones. We'll finish that in-breath. Spread the arms without breathing. And then when we're exhaling, we'll just lower the arms. So just our own breath. Some are short, some are long. Now, when we do exhale, though, breathe out through the mouth with the lips just slightly parted. So it's a bit like blowing air out through a straw. And then right here, move the neck back, the back of the head lifts up. Okay, and whenever the arms get down, just pausing there for a moment. And then bring the attention down the back of the waist, moving back a little bit, tailbone tucked a little bit, and then down the legs to the soles of the feet. And check in that the weight is even in our feet again. And then what we're going to do, we're going to work with the feet. We're going to lift our heels and lower the heels and lift all the toes. Okay, so we'll do one more. And then when the heels are down, just keep the toes up. Now keep the big toes lifted and see if we can get the other toes to go down. And then all the toes up and switching. Back and forth, handful of times. Okay, And then lifting the toes, we'll get them all up at some point here, and just pause for a moment. See if you can push them apart from each other. And we can spread the fingers very easily, so we can get that same sensation spreading wide with the toes. And then release the toes down, and we're going to dig them in the mat, left side and right side. Just like a cat working on a sweater, just digging the toes in. And then come neutral and just release the feet. And then we're going to lift the inner edge and take the weight to the outer edge. And here, let the knees relax a little bit so they're not stressed as we roll side to side. And at the same time, kind of knowing where that tailbone is, it's dropping. Okay, let's come neutral. Rest the weight down through the feet, balance the weight, and we're going to bend our knees. And they'll get close together. So we're going to have the hands down by the knees. We'll get them so they touch. So we're getting a circle. It's really a knee circle. The ankles and hips just move along because of the knees circling. At some point, we're going to switch our direction. And change direction again. We'll get a couple more. And then back again when we're ready. And then come to center. Sink the hips down a little more. Enough so that we can feel the thighs working. Energize the glutes. So they squeeze on into the hips, holding the hips. And we're going to come out of here with an inhale. And we get tall and just feel down the legs to the feet. Whenever you get an inhale, just bring the breath up here to the collarbones. And you get an exhale. As you breathe out, imagine the breath coming down through the back of the waist, through the hips, and imagine as you exhale longer, all the way down, breathing to the soles of the feet. Okay. Now let's see, let's put our hands on our waist. Actually, top of the hips. Don't think of the waist going to become a little lower, top of the hips, there's those bones. And when I exhale, I'm going to turn my left side back. I'm going to look behind. And when I inhale, I'm going to turn forward. When I exhale, I'm going to take the right side back. I'm just going to go side to side. Now, when the right side goes back, just release the right arm and point behind. And when you inhale, turn forward, bring the right arm straight up. And then exhaling, we'll touch the opposite shoulder and just run the hand all the way down the opposite side of the body. Drop the head, go all the way low. And then bring the hand onto the right side and come up with the inhale. So same thing for the left, exhaling back, releasing the arm. In breath, bring the arm up, turning forward. Out breath, touching the shoulder, and then run down that side of the body. Inhale brings us back up. And we just travel with our breathing. Now what we can do when we have this rhythm for ourselves is have the eyes look for the hand that's in motion without moving the head, to see the hand. So get the eyes to work. Okay, so whenever we get a left side, just run through the left side and we'll get to the end there. We're going to have the left one be our last. And then we're going to move the feet apart. So feet out beyond the shoulders. And then we're going to really clearly turn the feet. And then to do that, we have to kind of right away bend the knees. So I turn my feet in, I bent the knees, and as I look, I can kind of see the knees are above the toes. We kind of figure that out for ourselves. I want to tuck the tailbone, and then right here, we'll actually go back and forth. I'll just show from the side here. So here's my position, and I'm just tucking and sticking the tailbone back just a couple of times. I'm not necessarily trying to create a big pushback because this position limits that. But what I want to find is, oh yes, there's my tailbone, it's tucked. So I'm looking for that. So I get that tailbone tuck. All right, got the knees over the toes. And then I want to feel like I'm working between two panes of glass. So here I'm leaning forward, I don't want that. I want that upright place. And then let's take the arms up. And then just for a moment, push up through the palms, lift the shoulders, sink the tailbone, move the neck back, and then just get a comfortable width. So we really want to get the shoulders to push up, the shoulder blades to move apart away from the spine. And then we're going to soften. I'm going to bend the elbows. I'm going to put my fingertips on my shoulders. And then I'm going to turn my my left side forward. And then my right side forward. So keep looking straight ahead. Get the ribs, the shoulders to move. And then even maybe sinking the knees just a little more, but be careful, there's places where the knees aren't happy. So stay with happy knees. And then at some point, the right is forward, and just pause there. And then the right is forward, release the right arm, take it straight out, turn the palm down, and then the left, right, release it, push the elbow up and just turn the palm forward. So now those fingers are pointing down as well. And then let's switch. So we'll go side to side again, but as we turn front, both arms are out there, and the left pushes forward, the right pulls back. Now, what we want to get here is at the back elbow that we feel it's above the shoulder. Okay, so when that left arm points forward, just smooth out the right and bring the right forward. And then we're balanced here. Check the tailbone, just push out both palms. And then soften the arms, just release the arms down for a moment. Let's straighten the legs, give the legs a shake. The knees okay in that place? Knees are okay?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go back to it then. So again, for ourselves, it's always good to remind ourselves, I can have my feet a little further or a little closer, and just change it up a little bit, right? Just gives the joints a slightly different place. We don't have to get to exactly the same spot. So we find our working version. We're going to float the arms up again. Now, what I'm going to do is just over to the right, over to the left. I go to the right, I'm going to push out through the palm, I go to the left, I'm going to push out through the palm. And I'm going to keep those elbows, in line or a little higher than the shoulders. As I go to the side, the hips, don't move too much. So it's really upper body. And the hips maybe get dragged a little bit. Okay, I get to the right. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to swing the right arm down. I'm going to take the left arm up. So these are Aldoa arms, right? The palm pressing up, the arm rotated. And now I am going to lean with the upper body a bit. I'm going to push the arms apart. And then inhale back to neutral. Okay, and then for the other side, over to the left. And here, push the arms apart. And then back to the center. A little more complicated. We'll get to the right again. Now bend this upper arm, left arm. So palm pushes outward and then press. And we're going to do 5 pushes. And that right arm is still working down. Okay, let's say we got our 5th. Who can count that high in the summer? And then over to the other side. And bend the elbow. Okay. Back into neutral. Okay, let's just inhale up, stretching the legs up. So I'm just going to push up through my palms here for a moment, and then exhale. I'm going to bring those arms down. Okay, so let's start digging into the upper body here. So we're going to use another 2-armed move. I'm going to bring my arms up just above, just above my shoulders, and I'm going to bend the elbows, keep the elbows above the shoulders, bend the wrists, and now my palms are up toward the ceiling. So I'm going to see if I can bring the backs of my hands. I'm going to touch the top of my head, then I'm going to come just off the top of my head, okay? And then the elbows above the shoulders, and then the elbows gently pressing backwards behind the shoulders. So from the side, we can see, obviously we're not trying to tear them out, but we can see, okay, they've gone back a bit, right? At least not in this class. That's an advanced class, right? So moving the elbows back, palms press outward and upward. And now let me know, are we okay in the little finger, the ring finger?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so then we're going to soften and just press up, just really loose and out and down. Okay, so that stretch does the ring finger and the little finger. Okay, those 2 fingers, sorry, right? The outside of the fingers, just so you know. So let's work now up through here. So what I'm going to do, my left hand, I'm going to lay it on my sternum. I've got the fingers spread across, some above, some below the collarbone, just where it lands naturally. So these fingers here have a job, 2 jobs. One, they're just going to sense what's going on beneath them, but the very presence on my sternum is to help me keep my sternum face forward. So now what I'm going to do with my right arm, it's available. So I'm going to flex the wrist. I'm going to rotate the arm. So now the fingertips pointing behind, thumb pointing back. And then I'm going to see if I can take this arm from the side back behind a little bit again. And we can start to feel we're getting a bit of potentially we're starting to feel a bit of drawing there. We don't have to force it, but it can occur. Okay, so now I'm going to tip my head to the left. Now I'm going to keep the head tipped the way it is, but now I'm going to rotate and turn my face back toward the right. So the face is tipped upward a little bit. And then I'm going to move just my eyes, and I'm going to look, just moving my eyes for the cheeks of the face, looking for those left fingertips. And then let's check our spine, tailbone a bit tucked, and lumbar moving back, neck moving back, back of the head pushing outward and upward. And then check in with that right arm. Okay, and then soften. So just melt things a bit, bring the head up, release the arm. We're okay on that arm?
Yeah, so it worked those fingers I was telling you that were tingly.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine.
They got more tingly.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, exactly. So then there is, you know, I'd have to look up the nerve, to be honest, look at its pathway. But somewhere on that nerve's path, what's happened, I think, is just the chronic demands, you know, literally it's subtle, but it is chronic. So some tendon, some ligament, you know, has strengthened, has thickened, right? So the nerve's just starting to get a little bit of pressure. So that's okay, right? You know, in the sense that it can be worked with. But honestly, I'm going to reinforce this because you won't like it when you actually do it. But the best thing you can do in terms of making a change is to switch hands, and that'll give it a rest, right? You know, bed rest, right?
I'll give you a report next Monday. So
Excellent.
I've got a week, and we'll see how I've done.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll have something to hold me to.
You know, you're a scientist, right? So, you know, this whole thing about observational studies, right? Make some notes and treat it as a research project. Let's do the other side. So we'll get a posture, even weight in the feet, tailbone a little tucked, back of the waist, back of the neck, back of the head. So now my right hand is resting again on the sternum, finger around the collarbone. So here's my left arm, it's a free arm. I'm going to rotate it, push out in the palm, move the arm back a bit. And here's where there's a real tendency to twist, right, as I push the arm back. So I really use this right palm to help me stay face forward. Once that hand's back a bit and there's energy down that arm, I'm going to tip my head away. So the head's tipped away, and now I'm going to rotate the head so the face can turn toward without the head really changing. And then I'm going to work with the gaze, looking down for the cheeks or the fingers. And then I'm going to check in with my back, with my spine. And then gently but clearly, just make it a little more intense so that we know things are going to get a stretch. And then we're going to soften. So relax the arm a bit, then release the head, then fully release the arm. And just some gentle movement when you're ready. Just real slow movement with the shoulder. Okay. We're going to do one more version. We'll do it on each side. It's a slightly different version in that the head goes in the other direction. So let's set up our back. A little bit of a drop to the tailbone, feeling of the lumbar going back, neck and back of the head. And then left hand, same place. Same initial with the right arm, right? We get that rotation through the arm. And it's just away from the side a bit. It's just back from us a bit. And then we just make sure that the sternum's still straight forward. Now, rather than turn the head, the skull away, we're going to go towards. And now we're going to rotate the head so we're looking away. But the eyes, don't move the head, but the eyes now still want to look and see if they could see those left fingers. Now, they're not going to be able to, but we want that work. That crazy work, making those eyes do that. And then just spot through the spine. So tailbone, lumbar, neck, back of head. And let's come out of here. So soften the arm a bit, release the head and the neck to neutral. Make sure the arm's fully relaxed. Was that any different with the tingling, just technically?
A little bit less that way.
Yeah, okay, so I think that's the gentler version. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just agreeing with you that it must be a gentler version.
Okay, let's try the other side. So we got our hand in place. Check the spine. And then when we're ready, that left arm rotates, it works back a little bit. And now the head goes toward the left. And then the whole skull basically rotates, the head not really changing its orientation, but now we're looking away, we're looking to the right. I want to try not to push the head forward, that's one of my faults. And then look back toward that left side, both eyes, trying to see the right fingers over on the left there without leaning the head forward. And then we're going to release this again. The arm softens, head to neutral. Release the arms. So, you know, Heather, I used to do a lot of digging, right? A lot of shovel work. So I don't know if you're doing that. I'm sorry?
I actually do a lot more office work than
Okay.
I used to. Yeah. I'm my happy place is outside.
Well, you have to stay in tune with the mouse too.
Yeah.
But when you do get outside, the other thing I learned digging was that, you know, I'd always get in there same side of the body, right? Always had the shovel like this, and there's that left. Yeah. And I had to make myself do it the other way.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so awkward. But again, what that makes such a big difference for is the SI joint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've definitely done a lot of switching sides.
That's good, because, you know, it took me a long time to learn that, relatively speaking. You know, it wasn't until it was like, what's causing this pain? Pain is such a great teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got distance now between the feet, and we're going to look for a distance that lets us do this without it being painful for the knee. We unfortunately don't mind if the muscles start to complain a little bit, but we do mind if the joints start to complain. So we need to find that place. And then we're going to play here. So we'll get down there. And then left elbow goes onto the left thigh, and I straighten out the right leg, and I sweep that right arm up and over, and I just push out for a moment. Good. Now I'm going to get out of here by bringing that arm back, and then bend that left knee and sink back down. And then I'm going to straighten up. And then I'm going to bend down. And then the right forearm on the right thigh, and I'm going to shift over where I straighten the left leg, and then I'm going to bring that left arm up and over, I'm going to push out in the palm. I'm going to swing back. I'm going to sink down. And then because it's so much fun, we get to straighten up. So there's one cycle. I had a teacher decades ago used to say to me, you never need to do more than 300 cycles. And I never found out what the time was, right, in which I had to never do more than 300 cycles. So hopefully that wasn't a class.
Maybe that's in the lifetime.
How about a month, right? One a day. Kind of like vitamins. Okay. So let's get that Aldoa arm. And we'll come back. And then we'll get Aldoa arms here for a moment. This is a great place for Aldoa arms. And really press out. And then we're going to get up with an inhale. That's it. Exhale, back down. And then forearm. Aldoa arms, back up. Okay. That makes me sweaty. Are we warmed up? Got to say yes, right? Because that's a teacher's trick, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Oh, we got to do more, right? So we'll do one more related thing, but not quite the same. So here's my right knee bending. So for me, I'm just going to fiddle the distance between the feet a little bit. I like to do that. I get that right knee bent, and there's that left knee bent. So when I bend this knee, the knee's in line with the foot, yeah? So again, keeping that knee safe is so important when we do this work. So now, when you get the right knee bent, whenever you get there, just pause for a minute. This left foot, press down into the foot, right? There's a real contact there. Keep the legs where they are, right legs bent, but bring the hands onto the low belly. So I've lifted up a little bit, put my hands on my belly, and now slide the hands down the straight leg without changing the legs. Just go as low as you comfortably can and just look down. And then when you inhale, slide the hands back up the legs, over onto the belly, and then straighten. Now, the left's gonna bend. Just take a moment, want to get the feet ready. So there's some pressure on that straight leg. And then the hands head over to the straight leg side and go down, releasing the head. Inhale brings us up. Once we get the hands back at the belly, we're going to straighten up. Now we're going to get this once more for each side. So now the right knee's bent again. Before I move, I want to be able to press into that straight leg, into that foot, and then I go down the leg. And I come back up as I breathe in. I get up, hands on the belly, I can straighten both legs. And then I bend the left, and then the hands are going down the right. Inhale's bringing me up. And we get here in neutral. Okay, let's just walk the feet in just for a moment here. Okay, so now I'm going to have my feet not as close as we start with, but about hips width apart. And so I'm going to bend my knees. I'm going to put my hands at my hips, and it's the hips that circle. So the first circle is really trying to get the knees to be the origin of the circling. And here I want the hips to be the origin. I'm going to change direction. And then I'm in the center. And then I'm straightening the legs. And now let's get down onto the mat. There's a couple of ways we can get there. But I always like to see if I can go down with a squat. Let's see. I might have to fiddle the camera actually at this point. So we'll get ourselves down comfortably on the mat. And I'm going to get the camera a bit closer in. Okay, so hands are behind, right? And I've just got some weight back on my hands. I'm going to send my knees over to one side, over to the other side. Now, again, this is a place where we need this to be comfortable for our knee. So work on the distance between the feet. And then when you get to the side, let the hip shift up, right? So I've shifted up. So then this knee's in a safer position. So again, over at the other side, I shift up. That's it. So there's a real movement, right, that we're doing. And then over at the right, I'm just going to adjust myself. I'm going to stay here now. So right hand has some weight. I've shifted up. And then this left hip, it's turning, right, really turning. And then I can turn further by looking over my right shoulder. And I breathe in, I turn forward. And now I'm going to go all the way around to the other side. So I turn forward. So I'm going to lean back, right? Roll the legs. Left hand's behind, right hip lifts and turns. I'm going to look round over my left shoulder. Okay, let's give ourselves just one more for each side. And then when we're ready, we're just forward. And just have the legs go straight for a moment, and they're just lightly bouncing. So we get a handful of those, and then we get a handful of these. And then we're going to adjust that. We're going to bend the knees a bit. Right, we're going to get the heels pretty close. So I can get my hand, there's just a finger or two for the heels apart. I want to get a feeling that the big toes, base of the big toes especially, pushing down at the mat and the knees pushing outward. So I set up my legs. Now I want to feel what's going on with my tailbone. It wants to tuck a little bit rather than be kind of sticking back, so that the back of the waist, the lumbar area, it's flattening. And then also I'm going to see if I can draw it up just by getting tall here. And then reach up all the way to the back of the neck, back of the head. So there's a little bit of tucking on the chin. We're going to basically keep our gaze downward when we get there. But let's just start by sweeping the arms wide. And just inhale, float the arms up. And then as we go up, we'll transform the arms with the palms pushing up. And then let's start rotating. We rotate the arms. Push up with the hands. So the shoulders get up. And really think of, for ourselves, the image is the shoulders are trying to get to the ears. But at the same time, the ears are trying to lift up away from the shoulders. So they're kind of chasing each other. And keep pushing up and drawing them up. And then check down the back body. Neck's still going back. Head's not dropping forward. Back of the waist is moving back. Tailbone's a little tucked. So you can find a place of energy in the low belly to pull that off. And then the knees pressing wider. Big toes trying to touch the ground. Base of the big toes. And after you checked all of that, bring the arms wider apart and then push outward. Press, press, press. And then soften the arms. Really just let them ease in. And then hands come down, touch around the knees and release the legs. So knees are still bent, feet are flat. Maybe bring the feet a little closer, a little further, whatever feels good. And I'm just gonna walk my arms down. So I'm hugging the legs. And now I'm just gonna round the back over. So chin tucks in, push the spine back. Elbows are a bit bent, so spread the elbows, pull the shoulder blades away from the spine and push the spine backwards, all the way down the spine, all the way up the spine. And then inhale, soften. Okay. Let's give the legs a little shake. Okay, now we're going to use this position. I'm trying to remember what the position was. So start with the same legs. But this time, walk the feet in a bit closer. There's still that same simple distance between the heels, but I'm working the feet in a bit closer to my body. Once I've done that, I'm going to take my right and turn it up neutral. So my right foot is flat and the right hand just below the knee. It's helping me with a bit of support. I'll get myself tall. So this left leg, knees pressing outward, base of the big toe, trying to find the floor. Check the length in the back body. And then there's that left arm. It goes out, it's going to spiral, and it's going to push forward. And don't twist the torso, but really move the shoulder forward. And then when you inhale, come up. And then check the spine. And then next inhale, open outward. Okay, and press through the arm, press on the knee. Okay, and soften the arm, just melt it in. And now bring this left leg up and have the feet neutral and just walk the arms down. So, we're holding the wrists, however it works there. We're gonna pull and spread the elbows, move the shoulder blades away, tuck the chin, and then push the spine back. And then soften, inhale, lift the head. And we'll do the other leg. So basically this left leg can stay where it is. The right drops outward. Right ankle's flexed. So, the heels do stay in line here. A base of the right big toe reaching down for the ground, knee pushing outward. I got my left hand just below the knee. I want to create length. So I want to feel where my weight is in my hips. Tailbone's a bit tucked. And then there's that right arm. It starts by pushing out and I feel the shoulders gone forward. And then I inhale, I bring it vertical. I push up. And then when I inhale, out to the side and push out. Really move the shoulder outward. And don't send the head forward for ourselves. We just have to feel what we've done with our head. Want the neck back, back of the head up. So we're stretching all the way down the spine. So it's the other side. So this is my left leg. And then on the right, knees out, base of the big toe looking down for the ground. Okay, and then stay longer there, Heather, if you want, for a breath or two. We're going to soften the arm, come out. We're going to bring the knee up. Going to wrap the arms again. Okay, so spreading the shoulder blades apart. So the elbows, as they push forward, can help with that. And then pushing the spine back all the way. Check everywhere we can. And then we're ready, just softening. We'll lift the head. Okay. So let's see. Trying to think of the easiest way to get where I want to go. It's kind of a tricky place. So what I've done, I'll show you front on. I brought my feet really close together and I'm going to drop onto my right hip. So I'm just going to swing my hips over to the left a bit and come right over. So I'm here now. Yeah. So I'm clearly on my right hip. My left hip, my top hip is right above the left. So left hip is right above the right. So hips stacked. And then knees stacked and straight out from the hips. So a real right angle here between my spine and my legs. And then the feet right below my hips. Okay, so I'm going to lay right down on my lower side. And when I get down, for me anyway, I usually have to fiddle a bit with my hips and just see if maybe my knees need to pull in a bit more. And then once I've got that set up, my lower arm, my right arm, is going to grab somewhere on the top leg. Yeah. So now this arm's free. So first thing I'm going to do, you have to kind of just go by voice guidance, but just watch and I'll just quickly show. I'm going to drop my head back, my shoulders back. I'm going to fiddle a little bit here just to make sure the right shoulder blade is comfortable. Here's my left arm. So goes up, rotates, and it goes back. And then once I get it close to my ear, I just start to release and allow that left side to sink downward. Then after a few breaths, I'm going to take it away out to the like 45 degrees again and push outward and just keep releasing. Okay? So we want to try to keep the spine in relatively aligned. So think of the shoulders, the ribs, think of hips lined up, ribs lined up, shoulders lined up, head lined up. So the top hip would probably like to fall backwards. One of the jobs of that right arm is to hold it in place while holding that top leg so the hip doesn't move. And then for ourselves, we're just seeing if we can let these shoulder blades sink. Okay, and then to release, just bring that left arm back up. And then once it's up, just relax it down onto the left side, the top side. And then just swivel the body and we'll come onto our back. And once we're on our back, just a couple of breaths. Feel the difference in the sides. Let the low back release. And then we're going to go to the other side of the body. So we're on our back. For me, I want to bring my feet close together. I'm going to kind of bump my hips over to the right a bit and then drop both legs over to the left. And then once we get there, we just have to start checking placement. So the hips literally one above the other, top hip not going backwards, but right above the bottom hip. And ideally top knee above the bottom knee. And then the feet just kind of feel where they are, but we want them basically lined up with the hips. That means they're pretty close to the hips. And then this bottom shoulder, we want to come right onto the shoulder blade. So we've let the head drop down and the bottom arm grabs the top leg. When we get here, we fiddle a little bit. Want to check that the tailbone's tucked a little bit, that we're moving the back of the waist back. And then we're going to take that right arm, that free arm, press it up for the ceiling, rotate the arm, and then bring it down close to the ear and push outward through the palm. Now, as we're pushing outward in the palm, pressing the shoulder open, also let the shoulder blade release down toward the mat. And then take that arm and take it out away from the side of the head. And it goes out about 45 degrees. And again, we're pushing outward. And again, trying to let the shoulder blades release downward as we are pressing outward. Okay, and we're going to get out of here by softening that right arm, bringing it up vertical, and then laying it on the top side of the body. And then when we're ready to, we're going to shift our weight onto our back. Just adjust the back so that the weight settles onto the mat. Okay, grab the knees and we'll just draw our knees in towards our chest. We're going to separate the knees at a comfortable distance, letting the back of the waist sink down and feeling for ourselves that the tailbone is off the ground. And then just lift the feet higher than the knees. And here we're going to create circles through our ankles. So let the feet go freely, one direction. After a few rotations, other direction. And then relax the ankles and take the feet now in circles around the knee. Above and below, both directions. And then let the feet relax down, hands on top of the knees. Circle the legs. Use the hands to take the knees apart and bring them close. Traveling both directions. And then just draw the knees closer together, bring them in a bit toward the ribs. Okay, now bring the soles of the feet as close to each other as you can. So I've got my hands on the outsides of my knees. Get a better angle for you. And I've got the soles of my feet trying to touch. So the heels can touch maybe base of the big toes. And then seeing if I can keep my feet in contact. They're doing a circle. It's like a bicycle, right? Up and down, staying in the center line, and then changing direction at some point. Okay, and then separate the feet, grab the knees, just get a couple of circles at the ankles. And when you're ready, a couple of circles with the feet around the knees. And then let's come neutral. We'll draw the knees in toward the ribs. Let's do a couple of rounds of the general Aldoa. So legs are parallel, knees are close enough that the tailbone's off the mat. Heels are higher than the knees. We get the wrists crossed. And then just check the neck and the back of the head. And the eyes looking down, looking for the cheeks or the thighs. So we'll start with the right arm going vertical, rotating, pressing up, lowering near the ear, and then push outward and connect that effort into the low back. Low back sinks into the ground. When we're ready, the left heel goes down and scrapes out. When the leg is long, push out through the heel, push out through the palm. And then again, bring the attention to the low back. Want the spine heading into the mat, not popping up. So to leave here, we'll take the left leg vertical and then the right arm follows. And just give them a chance to both push upward. And then soften the knee and the hands back on the knee. And then we're going to release the left arm. It rotates, presses up, comes down close to the ear, pushes outward. Find the back of the waist. When we're ready, we follow with the right heel touching down, and we extend the legs, scraping the heel down the ground, and push out through the foot and the hand, and sink the lumbar into the mat. And then we're going to bring that right leg vertical, left arm, they both press, and we bend the knee, put the hand to the knee. And then we're going to release the right arm again. Pressing up, down near the ear, pushing out. And left heel. Once the left leg is strong, press out through both the heel and the palm. And let the back of the waist sink down. And then bring the leg up, followed by the arm. Push for the ceiling. Knee bends and hands back on the knee. So let's do our left again. Push upward, lower down, push outward. And then the heel follows. As we work that leg long, we want to stay in touch with the low back. Push out through palm, through heel. And then we're going to bring the leg up and the arm up. Okay, and then the hand returns. And then just take the hands back on their own knee. Now bring the legs to where it's comfortable for the low back. We're just taking the weight of the legs in our hands, taking the breath into the low belly. Letting the belly expand like a balloon when we breathe in. And when we come to breathing out, breathing all the way down deep into the hips. Okay, and then let's try the legs up vertical. So take them up straight and take the hands up the backs of the legs. So just reach up an easy place to hold. So we get the legs straight, they're vertical. The arms are straight as well, just wherever they grab the legs. And then let's get our attention into the back of the waist. Just below the back of the waist, we've got the tops of the hips. And that whole zone, we want to give a chance to release and sink into the ground. Now rotate the legs so the big toes point towards each other. Got that turning in, pushing up. And then see if you can let go of the legs so they're really powerful. And then reach the arms straight up for the ceiling, bend the wrists, rotate the arms, push the arms up for the ceiling, and then bring the arms down close to the ears and push the palms outward. The shoulders trying to get to the ears. The ears lengthen, the neck lengthens. So we try to get the ears away from the shoulders. And then when you breathe out, let the chest, the breastbone sink down. And see if you can adjust from the inside, releasing around the ribs so the ribs get to sink into the mat. The sternum dropping down. The shoulders reaching for the ears, but the ears trying to get away from the shoulders by lengthening the neck. And the gaze going for the thighs or the cheeks. And then soften the arms, grab the knees, bend the legs. Hold the knees where it's comfortable. And then let's guide the feet back to the mat. And just pause for a moment with the knees bent. And when we're ready from here, we'll just lengthen out our legs. And when you're ready there, just stretch out and release the back. And put the arms into a comfortable position.